All right, so we've reached the end of 2023. How much did you get done in this last year? Did you do everything you wanted? Did you try all the things you wanted to try? Did you create all the songs or projects or videos or pieces of art that you wanted to do? Well, I sure hope so, because today we're going to talk about the end of 2023, some of the things that I feel like we accomplished well this year, and plans for 2024. So what I want to first off do is something that I usually don't recommend, but hey, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to look at some of the numbers that we were able to achieve this year, and just talk about the significance of those and just give you something to compare to your own work. So I've got my YouTube Studio app pulled up on my phone. Currently, as I record this, we are sitting at 2,535 subscribers. So if you are part of that, thank you so much for being part of this awesome community that we've been able to cultivate around heavy metal, guitar, and being stupid, I guess. Thank you for being a part of that, and I know there are a few of you in here that have been here for quite some time. I really appreciate you sticking around, and for those of you that are somewhat new, I appreciate you just as much for joining in on the craziness that goes on this YouTube channel. Now, when I go over to my analytics here and I pull up, let's say, the views, let's just get that one knocked out of the way. In the last 365 days, we were able to achieve 357,200 views. Now, you may not be able to see that because my camera doesn't want to focus exactly, but we got close to 360,000 views this year, and you know, maybe some people may not think that's a significant amount, but that is 53% more than the last 365 days. So I increased the amount of views by 53% this year. And that is a very huge deal to me. That means that I've been able to do some things right with the content that I'm creating, to be able to bring more people in to see the cool things that we're doing here. Watch time has been the struggle in the last 365 days, and I think it has a lot to do with the type of content that I make. So as you've noticed, near closer to this end of the year, I've been trying to make content that's a little bit longer. I've been doing some different editing things to try to keep people watching within the first 30 seconds of a video and keep them hooked for the whole thing, just to try to boost that watch time, because metal covers and songs and stuff like that are nice, but they're only a couple minutes long, and even if I get a bunch of views on that, it still doesn't add up to people creating long-form content that just really reels in that watch time. But in the last 365 days, we got 2,530 about watch time hours, which is about 5% more than the previous 365 days. So not as much of a huge increase in watch time. And I know a part of that is with my inconsistency this year. Had a lot of crazy stuff going on this year, but I plan to change that here in 2024. But at least we had an increase of 5% and we didn't go down. So we're doing something better. Now, if we go over to subscribers, in the last 365 days, we gained 1,019 more subscribers, which is a 102% increase from the last 365 days, which to me, nice. We're getting people in here, seeing the cool stuff that we do, the cool community that we have, the awesome people that exist in here, and they're willing to join in on the fun. So again, if you're one of those 1,019 people that have joined this year, welcome. Thank you so much for joining on the ride, and I hope you stick around to see some of the cool stuff that we create coming here in 2024. Now, another metric you may not think about so much, and it's more so for the people who create content, is impression click-through rate, or CTR. That's basically the rate of how many people see your thumbnail for your video and actually click on it to go watch it. And we averaged out at about 5.1% this year, but as you can see, the numbers have scrambled up and down quite a lot, some getting up into 13%. So we've definitely had some videos that have done really well. I've been really trying to work on my thumbnail game in order to attract more people when they see the thumbnail pop up and get them to actually click through and then watch the content. So even though we averaged out at about 5%, I think between I think it's between 2 and 4% is like kind of average, and then between 5 and 10 is like a little bit above average, and then anything beyond that is obviously doing pretty well. So I think we're well within a good, decent range for the click-through rate, and I'm happy with that. Average view duration is another metric, basically just how long somebody actually watches your video. Now this one I tend not to look at so much because it does get skewed with the differences in content that I make. So this year we got an average view duration of about 1 minute and 37 seconds. But as you can see, it does spike and jump around. And the reason I don't pay attention to this so much is just because I can go from making a 10 to 15 minute in-depth review or tutorial type video, and then the next be a 2 or 3 minute metal cover or song or something. So that kind of throws off the average quite a lot depending on who watches what. So this one I don't pay attention to as much, but I think that's a pretty good metric to go by, and I think we did fairly well this year. Another cool metric is the amount of unique viewers that we are able to pull to this channel. And I can't pull up the last 365 days. The metric is not something that you can pull up in the studio app, but I can pull up the last 90 days. And in the last 90 days, we have gotten an average of about 30,000 unique viewers, which is actually quite a significant less amount of people than the previous 90 days. But again, this is 90 days, not 365. And I think a good reason for that is people start to die down in terms of views and stuff they watch throughout the late fall and early winter time, so that kind of tracks and makes sense. So yeah, so enough about the numbers. I just want to talk more generally. I think I've made some really cool stuff this year, even though my consistency has been kind of wackadoodle. Like I said, there's been a lot that's gone on, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But I'm fairly proud of the content that I was able to make, and I'm just scrolling through my videos here, just seeing what was put out this year. And a couple videos that stick out to me, honestly, let me see. If I go back all the way 12 months ago, you know, I was still at the townhouse that my wife and I were living in, and the whole setup there was really jank, which is part of why I didn't want to make content during that time. It just, the environment that I was in, the unfinished Michigan basement that I had set my studio up in, just didn't promote any kind of motivation to create. It wasn't inspiring at all. It was actually kind of the opposite. So now that we are in a better place and I've got an actual nice room for a studio, the inspiration and motivation is a lot higher than it was back earlier this year. So that is definitely a big aspect of something that changed this year, was actually buying a house. And I know that's kind of a luxury that maybe not a lot of people are able to do. However, it was financially more responsible to do so with the way renting is, and it was just the next step for Kaylee and I think we made a good decision buying a house. And even though the market is kind of we were able to kind of get into a nice, okay spot. So I think we're good for the next couple years until we decide to sell and move again. But back to the content aspect, some of the favorite things that I've actually created this year were a few covers and some other kinds of videos. So honestly, I started doing a Chug Day series that I haven't done in quite some time now. That was actually really fun, and I plan to do more with that here in the upcoming year. It's definitely fun to do, but I've kind of reworked the ideas that I have going forward for episodes on that, so stay tuned for that. But that series has definitely been fun to showcase to you guys. Another cool thing I did, it was one of my favorite metal covers that I put out this year, was actually the metal version of Mr. Beast's outro song. And if you haven't seen that, you can click right up here and go watch it, because it was one of my favorites to make. It was one of the most killer on my computer to edit the video for, just because I had so much going on, and I've got a pretty beefy computer. But it was a good translation to a metal song, I think. I definitely tried to hear the conversion before I make a cover, and I think the Mr. Beast outro song translated over really well, and the way that I executed it turned out really good, and I liked it quite a lot. And the views are okay on it. It didn't like blow up like I had wished it would, but it's sitting pretty with a good amount of views compared to what a lot of covers usually get, and I was pretty proud of it. I liked it quite a lot. It was the first time I actually hired someone to make a thumbnail for it though, so that was kind of interesting. That thumbnail there is created by someone that I hired, so I don't know. Did it help? I don't know. I don't think I'm the greatest at making thumbnails, so I just gave it a shot for something like that I wanted to kind of blow up. Who knows, maybe it'll blow up a little bit from now, I don't know, but it was really fun to make. Another really fun video that I liked creating was actually another metal cover. This time it was of a Billie Eilish song called Bury a Friend, which I love Billie Eilish's music. I'm not a huge pop fan or anything, obviously. I'm a huge metal guy. And there's something about Billie's music that has kind of a dark side that attracts me to it. And Bury a Friend was always a very interesting song to me that got stuck in my head for quite a long time. I actually got Kaylee and I tickets a year or two ago to go see Billie Eilish, and we went and seen her in Detroit. And that was one of the coolest concerts I've been to that wasn't metal, like in a long time, and it was a really, really good show. So that was a fun cover to create because I had a different idea for the music video aspect of it. Now, there are some things I would have changed for the song itself, but I was trying to really get it put out. I've been really trying to cut myself off from getting too perfectionist on the things that I'm working on. I obviously want them to be in a good place and I want them to be of quality, but a lot of times I can obsess over a project that I'm working on for far too long, and it starts to give diminishing returns, and I kind of end up making the thing worse by overworking on it. So I've been trying to kind of find a good cutoff point for where I'm like, hey, it's at a good place. I can't do any more good to it if I just sit here and obsess over it, so I'm just going to get it done and put it out. And I kind of did that with that one. Now there are some things, like I said, that I would like to change, but it is what it is and it's done for. I can always do another song another time, but even shooting the video for this was really fun because I bought a new lens, which you're actually watching me on right now. It's a 24mm lens, which equates to about a 35mm equivalent on full frame because I shoot APS-C, for those who know what that means. And it gave me a different aspect to how I can present myself on video, and so I pretty much used that 24mm lens throughout the entirety of that music video to give myself a different kind of look from what I'm used to doing, and I think the video turned out okay. I tried to give a little bit more of a thematic thing to it, as I try to do in a lot of my stuff, but I tried to match some shots a little bit with how Billie's music video was, just to kind of pay homage to it. And I think it turned out okay, and if you haven't seen that one, you can go watch it. It's easy, it's right there. Just let me know what you think of it. Now, if you've noticed recently, I've been making a lot of content on guitar tones and Neural DSP plugins, especially the Archetype Rabea, because that is by far like my favorite. It's Archetype Gojira and Archetype Rabea are my top two go-to plugins from Neural DSP to make any of the music that I make now. It was Gojira and Petrucci, but Petrucci is a very specific sound that I will definitely use, but I think for the heavier type of stuff that I make, Gojira is really good for the rhythm stuff. Rabea is really good for like the wacky, heavy, like non-traditional heavy type of stuff, and adding the synth aspect into it and all that. Like, you can create some really crazy stuff, and the combination of Gojira and Rabea just really can make some really crazy stuff. Now, if I want to go create like a Dream Theater song or some kind of lighter song that's not so heavy and maybe more solo, melodic forward, then I would definitely use the Petrucci plugin for that. But I mostly use Petrucci for like solos and stuff like that. Otherwise, rhythms are just Gojira and now Rabea. I've also started getting back into testing out gear and trying to experiment with things. So like a few weeks ago, I made a how to make a Doom synth video, basically where I tried to create my own synthesizer sound from the Doom video games with the soundtrack created by the amazing Mick Gordon. And that was really fun to make because it allows me to experiment on the fly and show you guys kind of my process when I'm trying to do such a thing. And it's really fun to do, so let me know if that's something you would like to see more of. I can definitely come up with some other cool video ideas that I can do in that same kind of experimental lesson, teaching you, come with me for the ride type of video. They're actually really fun to do. And the gear review stuff, like more recently I tested the titanium guitar pick. Stuff like that is actually really fun to do because it's getting back to guitar focused content, as opposed to many years ago where I was doing a lot of like microphone review videos because I was getting a lot of companies just sending me free microphones and stuff. And while that was fun, I think it was definitely a phase in my content creation time. I wish I could have spent that time a little bit differently than what I had, because I think I was kind of blinded with rose-colored glasses and the aspect of getting free stuff from companies, and it kind of diluted my content a little bit. But I made a change away from that, and now I'm definitely going more, again, guitar-centric to avoid that like unboxing review style of things that I was doing back then. And it's actually a lot more fun because it keeps my content within the same niche. You guys aren't getting blindsided by some weird out-of-the-pocket content that doesn't seem to fit. And it's honestly really fun to do. And I've actually got some more gear being shipped out to me here in the upcoming weeks that I'm also going to make videos on, similar to the titanium guitar pick videos. So stay tuned for those, and we'll do some cool testing on some cool guitar gear. Beyond all of that, you know, 2023 has been a very interesting year. I'm expecting to do a lot of different things in 2024, and content-wise, I am making some changes with how I'm going to create content to be more consistent and more focused, like I've been saying in the last few minutes. I'm going to have more of a content schedule, and that's more of a for sure thing, and I'm going to make it a priority. And I've got a lot of cool plans for things that I want to do in 2024 that I don't necessarily want to talk about just yet because I'm trying to put feelers out to make these things happen. But hopefully, fingers crossed, these cool things will actually take place and you guys will get to see some of these cool ideas that I have locked away in here come to life. And I think it'll be really cool. I'm putting myself out there a lot more. Even in my personal life, I've been trying to go for my photography world a little bit more to supplement my income and hopefully maybe, I don't know, quit my day job that I absolutely hate right now and pursue photography as the money-making machine as well as content creation, because it's what I love doing. And I'm just really going to start taking more risks because I have played it safe for quite some time now, and I think it is about that time for me to stop playing it so safe, take some more risks, and really fight for the life that I want to have. And yeah, I hope you stick around for that journey because, man, oh man, it's going to be quite a ride, and I appreciate any kind of support that any of you give me in form of subscribing, liking, sharing, following on Twitch, donations, all that kind of stuff. Goes a very long way to help everything with what I'm doing, and it helps little old me feel like I'm actually doing something cool, you know, and it's getting me ever so closer to having that dream of doing this type of stuff for a living and not having to work for somebody else and absolutely grind myself into the ground working for somebody else who I despise, you know what I mean? But that's a conversation for another time. Thank you guys so much for an awesome year. We've done a lot of good this last year, and I plan to do a lot more in 2024. Stick around for that. Thank you so much. And if you haven't watched some of the videos you see on the screen right now, it's going to help me out way more than you think. And I will see you guys in 2024.